host, Samuel McCullough, and I'm joined this week by my esteemed colleague, Mandy, who's back again for another great episode. Welcome, Mandy.
Thanks so much for having me, Sam.
And our guest of the week, super happy to introduce Maliha Abidi, who's the founder of Women Rise and is going to help us talk about NFTs and getting more women into crypto and activism as well today. Welcome, Maliha.
Thank you so much, Sam and Mandy. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, so before we actually hop into our discussion, I'm going to pass over to Mandy to talk about our quick tip of the week, which is pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, we're super excited. So as of this week, you will be able to learn more about an initiative that we launched in December in partnership with Randy Zuckerberg, and Maliha was there for this announcement. We are committing $1 million toward helping more women get connected into crypto. You'll be able to learn more about this initiative at okcoin.com/crypto4all. Learn about the partners we're working with. Some of the things that we're focused on are learning, so more educational content, connecting more people with crypto careers and crypto projects that they'd like to support, and also just supporting ongoing projects like Maliha. So Maliha has launched an amazing NFT project called Women Rise. We're seeing tons of women and people from all over the world and men and everyone come together to support her project. And that is exactly the type of project that we are looking for in some of the grants that we will be offering as part of this initiative. So you can actually apply for a grant as a project or as a developer who's working in furthering the space. And Okcoin would love to review your application. So if you're interested in learning more about this initiative, go to okcoin.com/crypto4all.
And don't forget hiring as well too. We have a very diverse staff and employee set here at Okcoin. Sometimes, I'm the only guy in the room, which is great. And we have a great leadership with Hong and Mandy and all the other women at Okcoin who are really like driving the company and really making it great. So if come check careers page, we want to know more about you. And if you're interested in joining Okcoin, we have a lot of opportunities open. A lot. We're hiring a lot this year. We've doubled in size since last year, and we're going to be growing even more. So come join a growing, diverse workforce of really great people that are really fun to work with. And yeah, so that's just want to add that in there. But
Yeah.
let's move on to you, Maliha. Tell us about you. Tell us about how you got here and became a force in the NFT scene.
Thank you so much, Sam and Mandy. I'm so excited to be here. And yeah, absolutely. I'm so excited for the $1 million initiative as well. And yes, to formally introduce myself, my name is Maliha Abidi. I'm an artist, an author, and an activist. And the NFT space, I think I just kind of stepped into the NFT space very it's such a blur. Like it wasn't a moment. There wasn't like a lot of research or anything. One day I thought about NFTs, researched, and then next day I was part of the community. It happened because the space moves so fast. So like when I started, like I heard about Bitcoin and crypto and stuff back in like 2010. Couldn't care less about it. My cousin was just like, obsessing over it. He still is. And I just didn't care about it. And I was like, I don't have time for this. Then like even in the recent years, like even in 2019 and 2020, I was like, okay, what do I have to do with crypto? What do I have to do with like tech, finance, that side of thing? I'm an artist. I have like my relationship to tech is more like, how can I campaign on social media? How can I utilize the platforms that I have in Web2 to make sure that I'm amplifying stories and campaigning for social justice through my art? So then my husband started to talk about NFTs, and he was like, because he's a huge supporter of the work that I do in terms of like my art, and he was like, okay, maybe this could be a new, avenue for you to explore and campaign, and also just to grow as an artist as well. I was like, okay, NFTs, what is that? So I started learning about it. Me and my husband, we started learning about it together, and so NFTs became my gateway into the blockchain and the Web3 space. And I think if like I said, like I heard about crypto back in 2010. So it was something that didn't resonate with me. I didn't get it. But NFTs, like I understood that. So I feel like within Web3 space, for anybody who's feeling like, okay, maybe this is not a space for me, I don't see myself, there's so many different doors to enter this space that I would like people to just feel a bit, that okay, there is a space for you. It's just you need to find the right door, that fits you, and that fits you, like resonates with you. So that's how I started my journey into the NFT space not too long ago.
Amazing. And tell us more about Women Rise. I mean, it's become a really popular project, especially in the last couple of months. Tell us about what the art is, what you were inspired by, what the community is focused on, and your roadmap for it.
Yeah, thank you so much for that question, Mandy. So for the past 9 years, I've been creating. Actually, May 2012, May of this year is going to be 10 years. So for the past decade, I've been creating art for social justice focused on women's rights and girls' education. And traditionally, I'm a portrait artist. So like whatever you see in the women's rights artwork is something that I've been creating for the past decade. So in terms of art, it came to me very naturally. I didn't really have to pivot much because that's what I do. In terms of like my art style. And it's very colorful. It's very like, it's meant to attract people, draw people's attention. And even when I'm creating art for social justice and like something that's a bit more, like telling a story or conceptual, I make sure that the colors are really, really bright and loud because the idea is that maybe somebody will see my artwork floating around on social media who may not be interested in social justice otherwise, because I try to talk about global issues and not just issues from like one part of the world. um, and so they may not be interested in the information or the activism side of it, but maybe the art will attract them, so they will come for the art. And then while they're taking a look at it, while they're trying to like just see it, they may stay for the cause and learn a bit more about it. So it's kind of like my sneaky way of having people interested in complex issues that we as a society are dealing with, and need and the issues that need our attention. And so with Women Rise, I kept up the same kind of concept in terms of art, really bright colors. But like I made sure that I'm representing women from around the world, different cultures, different, racial backgrounds, different, just, professions as well that women are absolutely killing it in. And so it's a celebration of women activists, scientists, coders, artists, but also it's it started off as an NFT project, but it's really like a campaign for women's rights in Web3. I personally think that the technology we have and the innovation that's taking place in Web3 can be a huge and like a huge tool in our hands to advance human rights in general. So girls' education is the biggest goal that we have at Women Rights, and our ultimate goal is to build the first school in the metaverse for the 258 million children who are currently out of school. 129 million of them are girls. I'm originally from Pakistan, so I'm Pakistani American, and Pakistan is one of the top countries where children are out of school. So it's something that's very close to my heart on a personal level as well. But basically, I'm using my art, NFTs, whatever I can find to make sure that I'm talking about it. But mainly, like to your point about women rights becoming popular, becoming big, that has nothing to do with me. That has to do with the community and the team. The team has worked tirelessly. Aski, Saudi, Abby, Meg, I'm very proud of them and I'm so grateful for their support. And of course, our growing community. They're just such intelligent and compassionate people. It's like absolutely unreal because sometimes you see a JPEG or a PFP and you're like, oh, look at it's a cat. It's a I don't know, it's something like that's an illustration and you're like, okay, you don't immediately think that there's an intelligent person behind it, right? So you're just kind of thinking very limited. But when you get to talk to the community and interact with them in Discord, TikTok, Twitter, TikTok, it's just it's just incredible how intelligent and passionate and kind people are. So that's what makes women rise, whatever it is today.
Absolutely. And I will just say I'm a women rights holder, so I've been part of the community for the last month or so, and it's been so great to just see the conversations happening in the Discord, to follow, all of the content that you're posting on Twitter, to see these women come together and support really important causes as you were talking about. What's that like to see that all come to fruition, like after possibly envisioning something like this for a number of years?
Yeah, well, Mandy, thank you so much for being a holder. I'm so grateful to have you in the community. And in terms of how it feels, like I like even though I've been on this, in terms of like creating art for social justice, like this journey for a very long time, NFTs are something that it still hasn't sunk in. So every once in a while, me and my husband, who's a project director, of Women Rise, so we just sit there for a second, and then he hits us that, oh, okay, so like we created this, and then we're part of this incredible community. So it hasn't sunk in. Like honestly, like even after we've been sold out, we've had like some huge days at Women Rise. We have achieved like amazing milestones. I can't give you an answer for that because it hasn't sunk in.
So where does I think your project is different than a lot of other NFT projects because you're kind of sitting at a junction between art and activism, social justice, many of these themes. Uh, As someone who's been an artist for many years, I mean, you set up coming on a decade now. Has anything changed with this new technology? Has it allowed you to do anything differently or reach either expand your reach or be able to um, operate differently?
Absolutely. So I don't know if you guys can recall, but when we first started to use like Facebook or Instagram, it was like people just used to talk about, or even like WhatsApp, people just used to talk about, oh, like access is so easy. And for me, it was even like a bigger deal because I'm an immigrant from Pakistan. So like Facebook, Instagram, social media and WhatsApp and stuff, these things made it very, very easy for me to contact my relatives back in Pakistan, contact my friends back in Pakistan. So for me, technology was really exciting, for me because it used to cost a lot of money to make that one call. And then all of a sudden, WhatsApp was free, Facebook was free. You just needed internet access, and so it was really, really exciting to be a part of, like 10 years ago, just being on these platforms. When it comes to Web3, and all of a sudden, like we're so used to it now, we don't even acknowledge how easy Instagram or Facebook or whatever social media makes it for us to connect with people. So now we don't even like think about it that way. Web3 feels like that it's that feeling multiplied by 100. So like it would have, for example, in my art career or in my journey as an activist, I've been able to through campaigning or through just meeting people, I've been able to create incredible connections, incredible relationships. I see those bridging up very, very fast in the Web3 space. So the technology is just changing things, and it's making everything really fast. And this is what I tell like artists as well. So not just on a business or like an innovation level, but even like for independent artists, like not everybody is going to do a project that's 10K NFTs. But even for individual artists, I tell them that it took me 6 years to go commercial as an artist. So before that, I was just, creating art for myself, creating art for organizations, but it was all for free. I didn't used to charge because the space wasn't that way. The space wasn't as supportive. The space wasn't, that didn't make me feel as confident right then. I didn't believe in myself that I am like capable of calling myself an artist. But with the NFT space, it's so supportive, it's so incredible. And whenever I see like an artist who's feeling a bit down about not making a sale, because there's so much success in this space that people have seen as well, that rarely we don't sometimes talk about the failures. And that's I think that's a deal with internet that we still need to kind of deal with. We only highlight the good things sometimes. But whenever I see artists feeling down, rightfully so, they're humans, they're allowed to feel that way. I tell them that in the traditional space, things will still happen faster for you in the Web3 and the NFT space. So that's what the technology of this, like, of this decentralized space or this NFT space in general, the culture has contributed to. Just everything is super fast. Everything is, just like a better quality as well. And I think there's a lot of I have a lot of hope for individual artists, for women, for men, for marginalized communities, for human rights, for business, for anything. And there's a space for all.
It's interesting to me how Web3 is going to affect activism, because when you look at Web 2 and what it was able to provide in its time, you look at how a single engineer living in Dubai was able to start the Egyptian revolution almost a decade ago, just by creating a Facebook group and getting people to join it and start talking about the atrocities that were happening inside the country under the dictatorship. And this led to many other revolutions taking place during that time period, all across Asia and Africa, and was one of the biggest stories for a long time. Now that we have this kind of emergence of Web3, which has a different character to it, where we're talking about decentralized platforms, decentralized communications, uncensorable speech. I think it'll be interesting how that works its way in with both activism and uh, bringing people together around certain ideas and goals that they might have within this space. Whether it's like women's rights they're working towards, or just other types of oppression that they might be feeling within their own countries.
Absolutely. I agree with that very much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that makes me think. I was actually at Facebook during some of that, and I think there were a lot of people that were amazed at how much Web 2 was able to connect people around important causes. And then there was a lot of criticism, actually, of people seeing that social media and Web 2 promotes slacktivism. So the idea that more people can like a Facebook post or, share an idea, but not actually get involved in causes.
Mhm.
And that, these lighter weight actions might take the place of more meaningful civic engagement.
I
Curious
mean,
what you think about that. Yeah. Like, do you think that Web3 is a bigger step toward, more actionable supportive causes?
look, like when it comes to social media activism, there is a huge side of it that's performative. So I do understand where those people were coming from, that there are activists in the streets risking their life campaigning, and then you're sitting on social media. Some people may see it as virtual signaling, some people are being performative. We have seen that in the recent years with the most serious campaigns and campaigns as well. The thing is that it goes back to the impact that you're able to create, right? Like, of course, um, social media activism will never take, um, it's not going to be the same as campaigning in the streets or campaigning when the activism that comes from the community itself that's being impacted, right? But what's amazing about social media is that you can raise funds, right? It can also provide safety for activists. So, for example, I would like to mention um, um, Isra Al Shafi. She's an activist from Bahrain. Nobody knows what she looks like. I had the privilege of talking to her, and she runs this incredible digital network of activists in the Middle East. And she's able to change lives, save lives, advance human rights because social media and the internet allows her to stay anonymous. Many activists like her who have had the same kind of impact but were not, but didn't have the privilege or didn't have the choice to stay anonymous, they were killed, they were jailed. Um, Lojain al-Haklol is another activist from the Middle East that only recently got released for campaigning for women's rights to drive in Saudi Arab.
I remember that. Yeah.
So, you know, these are the kind of things that social media has also made it possible. So there's a dark side to it, and like filtering out performative activism is so easy. Just look at the record of the person. Like, are you just posting once to make it look like you care about something? Are you, you know, just like, are you talking about it after it's not a trend? Were you talking about it before it was a trend? Like, it's very easy, and you don't have to. It's not your job to call out those people. Don't put your energy in that. Focus on like how you can contribute to, you know, the campaign. So um, I feel like social media can be quite helpful in terms of raising funds, um, to connecting with people who, you know, may not be able to. For example, if somebody is sitting in Pakistan or United States or India or somewhere and something is happening on the other side of the world, they may not be able to campaign in the streets with those people, even if they really, really want to. What they can do maybe is donate to that cause, you know, or talk about it, or set up a community of their own, bring them together, raise funds within their community. So, you know, there's so many positives to it, but I 100% do understand where those people are coming from, and we still see those conversations coming up. Um, because what happens is that when something becomes a trend, there was a, so I'm Muslim, and there was a time of frustration where I saw nobody in the media was talking about something that was happening in the Muslim community, whether that was in the United States, whether it was in the UK, doesn't matter what country or what part of the world. And social media for me became a place where I saw people talking about it, and that gave me comfort. That made me feel like, okay, people do care about, you know, the Muslim community or what's happening. Of course, there's so many people who just kind of use it for clout or use it because it's in the news now. And for those people, I think it's very easy. Like, I mean, it's not always kind of like you can't just like tell sometimes. But what needs to be done? Maybe they're not doing it on purpose. So what needs to be done is that people need to understand that if it's not your community that's being impacted, you need to maybe share your platform and amplify the voices of the community members or the activists from that community that's being impacted. You know, so there's so many ways to navigate this while making sure that you're positively using the technology of Web 2 and Web 3.
Yeah, I have a lot of corollaries that I'm thinking of where one of the biggest early adoption events for Bitcoin that where people became very aware of it and started learning more about it was when WikiLeaks was deplatformed from PayPal. It was a really huge event, and WikiLeaks, the only place that they could turn to at the time to take donations was with Bitcoin. And, you know, a lot of people bought their first Bitcoins to give to WikiLeaks during that time period. And nothing has really changed where, you know, a lot of these activists that you're talking about that may be living in countries where, you know, they may not be able to receive external fundraising from Europe or the United States or in other places, either because of sanctions or because of restrictions by their home governments. You know, they can still use. They can take Bitcoin. They can take other types of cryptocurrencies that they can use to then fund their campaigns at home. So I think you've touched on it a couple of times where, and you're not the first person to say this. I actually heard this from in our discussions last week with Matthew, who said that NFTs are going to become like the new big fundraising vehicle where you have a technology that allows you to combine things like art and activism and other things, many different things, pretty much everything that you want to throw into an NFT you can. But the primary vehicle that it's going to serve is it'll allow for companies or organizations or people or activists to go out and effectively raise money, but at the same time build community around it at the same time. And that's, I think, really powerful.
Absolutely. And we're already seeing that. Like, we're seeing music careers being funded so that, you know, the record labels cannot, the evil ones can no longer exploit artists. Galleries are being removed from being the middleman. So, like, you know, you have the artist and then you have the collector. And so, you know, it's a clear pathway. or it's a clear relationship between, you see movies being funded, but also like on like the activism side, organizations, I've been working with organizations for a very long time. Organizations have such a tough time raising funds, especially grassroots organizations. And I think it's NFTs in this space is going to be such a game changer for them, because it's just, there's so much wealth in this space, and like I said, like, they're intelligent and compassionate people in this space who want to make sure that the benefits they're getting out of this space, they are able to share with the causes that are close to our heart, and we have seen that so many times. And I just can't wait for people to discover and explore the full potential of NFTs and Web3 in general.
So I want to go back to your point, because I think it's a really good one about anonymity or pseudonymity in Web3 and the role that that might play as these projects take off and perhaps, organize more people around some causes that might be somewhat controversial. Curious, did you consider remaining anonymous for this project? And what was that decision like? Because you are becoming, a leader and standing for important causes. I think we talk about in Web3 doxing yourself, right? The idea that you share your identity, which in some ways is a little bit counter to decentralization and like the Web3 future, perhaps. It seems like a lot of NFT projects led by women, have people who are really passionate about causes behind them and have chosen to share their identities. But what did you have any, tension or hesitation in sharing your own identity as you were embarking on this project?
Well, I'm fully doxed on Web2. So when
Yeah.
I entered or transitioned into Web3, it didn't even cross my mind. I didn't even think like of course, people are anonymous on the internet, but I didn't think that it's a thing in the NFT space that people are just kind of, I just thought that they're just rocking their NFTs. Therefore, once in a while, maybe we'll see their picture, but it didn't really like cross my mind. That's actually like a proper thing. So no, it didn't like, I didn't ever want to be anonymous or thought that, okay, like maybe I should start my NFT journey as an anonymous artist or an anonymous creator. Um, yeah, I feel like it gives me comfort that I'm able to kind of, and also my team, I feel like it allows us to connect on a deeper level with the community. But that's not to say that if you are anonymous, like it's your choice, because we never know the reasons why people are staying anonymous. For example, um, I know like a few friends of mine back in school when we were in school. I remember they got in trouble for posting their pictures on social media, and like trouble, like I'm talking about domestic violence. I'm not just talking about, okay, getting grounded or getting scolded. Like, so, just because, their family was like, they were conservative, they saw it in a very different way. And so even though it wasn't a matter of safety for them because they were an activist or something, or because they were a public figure, it became a matter of safety for them within their own home because it went against the values of that family. And it was more like, how dare you display yourself in public, sort of a thing. So we never kind of know. And I think that's one thing that I hope people change. Like sometimes we think about things in a very US centric way. Like if I were to, let's say that, okay, I want to stay anonymous because my family doesn't allow me to post pictures of myself, people will be like, why? That's so weird. Like in the US, like we don't have that, right? Like in terms of culture, that's not the norm. um, don't get me wrong, US has its own set of problems. But it's just, like sometimes I hope people like if I was talking about this to like somebody in South Asia or some other like part of the world where the cultures are a bit similar, I think they would be able to understand where I'm coming from. So just these kind of things, like we need to be a bit more understanding in terms of like global cultures as well, that not everything is US centric, not everything is English language, not everything is based, like in one part of the world. Um, so yeah, we never know,
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess switching gears a little bit, but you've mentioned the team that you work with behind Women Rise a few times. I feel like for most people, including myself, there's probably very little awareness into how much work goes into running an NFT project and launching collections. Can you talk a little bit about that? What has this process been like? How many people are involved? Is it a lot more involved than you were anticipating, or have there been surprises?
I've been an independent artist for a decade, so I have never worked with anyone. So this is the first time I have, built my team. Of course, I have been like when I'm commissioned to work on something, I am talking to teams, but I'm still like one person, running the art side of things. When it came to my traditional platform, and then NFT space, I entered with that mindset, like, okay, like I'm gonna create NFTs as an independent artist. But when it came to Women Rise, I wouldn't be able to do it by myself. So it started with a conversation with my husband, who's the project director. His name is Aski, and he's just the sweetest guy. He's so hardworking. So he has a full time job, and a good job, and he completes his work in the day, and then he works like even like the same amount of hours on Women Rise. So sometimes we're working like 14 hours a day just because it's such a new thing. So, and then we have the developer, Sobi. He's my cousin. So he's a cousin that told me about Bitcoin in 2010. So and so we as a team, and then there's our Discord manager, Abby, and then we have the digital marketing, digital social media manager, who is Meg. So we have our jobs all like detailed out for the week, and then something crazy happens, and then we're working overtime. So even when we are trying to keep that balance, this space is so unpredictable that you never know what's going to happen, especially with such a new project as Women Rise. We just got sold out in January. We had like an amazing, several days of secondary sales. Things were calm for a second, and then we had the biggest day, even bigger than the day that we got sold out. And then we just kept on going and going and going. So like we don't know like when things will happen. So we are working very hard. We are working around the clock. We don't know what sleep means anymore, but it does take a lot of effort. I do think that the entire team has its own kind of role, and we understand it really well. We work really well together, and we're always there to support one another. I also want to quickly give a shout out to our moderators in Discord. So we have 4 moderators, and they're absolutely amazing. And yeah, so plus the community support. So it's a lot of work, and but we wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, it's interesting. You look at artists, and when they get bigger and they commercialize, they typically have to bring on like a team, right? So you look at like a Damien Hirst or a James Jean, and they probably have 20 to 30 people working for them. You just get to a point where you just cannot be independent anymore with the level of success that you get to, if you want to commercialize. And so, yeah, I mean, the team building is really important for you to learn, and especially to grow as this project grows, and to bring more people on, because it's not just about creating the art. There's so much more that goes into it afterwards, and the support of it, and speaking with the community, and then using your platform to get more eyeballs on the project. So yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I
Yeah.
love James Jean, by the way. You mentioned.
Yeah, yeah. This is one of his prints back here, so I need to hang it up. Actually, it's been sitting there for a while.
Amazing.
He's one of my favorite artists as well too. Also, does NFTs. So yeah. Um, so what? I mean, you've met a bunch of other women artists in this space. I mean, what kind of similarities have you seen between yourselves, and how do you talk about that community?
Yeah, so all the women artists or female founders in this space, they all are so unique. Honestly, whether you're talking about in terms of like art style, whether you're talking about their artistic journey, whether you're talking about their way of leading. And but one thing that we have in common is our drive to bring more women into this space. And I think that's because we kind of know how difficult it is to get in. So once now we have our foot in the door, we're like, okay, we're gonna hold the door open so that more of us can get in. And I think that like diversity or having like more representation in the space is a huge part of that. But I absolutely love the women I've been able to connect with in this space. They're so incredible, they're so brilliant, they're so talented on so many levels. Um, and yeah, I can't. I mean, I'm having. I'm so excited for 2022 because we have like so many in-person events as well, and so I'm going to be meeting them again. Met some of them at NFT NYC, NFT London, in Miami. So they're just an amazing bunch of people.
Yeah. I mean, I think what's really cool that I've seen, especially with the women run projects in NFTs, is that there's very little like competition. Everyone is so supportive of one another. I think a lot of people who, perhaps were lucky in getting an early World of Women NFT have seen your project and been very attracted to it and have supported both projects. There's Women in Weapons, which is also I think led by I think all three of women. It sounds like Women Rise, Women in Weapons, and World of Women, to my knowledge, are run by kind of like a husband and wife team or two romantic partners, which is interesting. But I love just seeing how much everyone supports each other, and especially among those women run projects. And I mean, generally in the NFT space, but just the amount of support. And even there's been so many derivative projects with those as well. Have you been seeing a lot of artists being inspired by Women Rise and creating their own artifacts? And what have you seen there?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a very talented community, and then we have our own Discord channel for like artists. It's called Artist Rise, and then they just share their own personal art, but they also share like derivatives of Women Rise, and also like we recently had a competition of short stories. So we encourage people to write a short story about their Women Rise, the NFT that they hold, and it was so incredible to read like such personal stories coming from like our community. So we have like some talented writers in our community as well. But totally, like people are connecting with Women Rise on so many levels. I've seen some people post about like side by side pictures as well, and how they see themselves in the NFTs being represented. um, Another thing that's very, very exciting for me for the project is that when we started minting, I saw a lot of people tweet, because we love tweeting about the stuff that we mint and the projects we buy into. So I love seeing how Women Rise was one of their first NFTs, and then when we did the survey, we found out that 40% of our community has bought Women Rise as one of the first NFTs. We're so new, and still we have like 5,600. Did I say that right? Yeah, 5,600. 5,600. I'm getting my numbers wrong. I'm so sorry. 5,600 unique holders, which to me is like for like the ratio is like just insane, because I haven't seen that so early on in the project. And I think a lot of that comes from really new community members coming in, buying one or two NFTs, and just because they're trying to understand the space. I think newcomers don't just enter the space thinking, okay, I'm going to buy 10 NFTs or 20 NFTs. They're buying a piece of art, so they're like, okay, if I'm buying an art piece or an art print in the real world, I'm going to buy one of it, right? Like, so I think they have the same mindset when it comes to NFTs. And I think that really helped us achieve this unique holders number of 5,600. But just having that comfort of that we were a gateway for people to enter the Web3 space.
Yeah. I feel a lot of attachment to my NFTs. I'm surprised too. I wasn't anticipating feeling so attached to these images that I just see in a MetaMask wallet occasionally. Do you have that feeling as an artist with your own project, or maybe other projects too? But do you ever feel like, I don't know if I want to like see someone else own this piece that I just created. Do you ever have that feeling?
I have it um with my traditional art. So with the NFT space, the technology and the copyrights, like the rules are different here. So that allows me to have that security that okay, like even if somebody else owns an NFT piece, I have the rights to it. Whereas in the traditional space, sometimes people have tried to like exploit, the copyrights or, try to like steal art or whatever, or like try to just kind of have me sign contracts where I don't own my art. um, that makes me uncomfortable. And in those moments, I have felt like, no, it's like it's my artwork. I want to own it. I want to have the copyrights for it. NFT space has made me feel very secure and safe when it comes to that. Actually, um, in the traditional space, like, yeah, I've had those moments a lot of times.
How did
Yeah.
you how did you structure the copyright for the Women Rise?
So people are able to, when they own an NFT, so we own the copyrights for all 10,000 of them. But people who own an NFT, own a women rights NFT, they are able to make money off of that. So for example, like if they create like something like a merch from their women rights, there's a cap to it. So they can make a certain amount of money using their NFT. And of course they get, like if they resell it at a higher price, they get the profits from it as well. So that's how the licensing works. And also, our let's say if we are working with a company that's creating like I don't know T-shirts with women rights art on it, right? So if we like have 10 NFTs for the T-shirts, and if those 10 NFTs are owned by one of our holders or several holders, the holders will get a part of the t-shirt sales as well. So we have like structured it in a way that our holders are getting ongoing um, support and also like value out of their NFTs that they own, beyond just owning a piece of art and getting like royalties on it, or reselling it or trading. But also like in the real world, like if it's like going towards like business or something, we have made sure that it's like a structure where the community is getting the most out of it.
That is so fascinating, just how much the ownership model is really changing. And I mean, even aside from just how the artist continues to get royalties after, sale after sale after sale, but also how the community is part of this. I'm curious, do you have any other predictions for what's going to happen in the NFT space? What do you think we'll see in 3 or 5 years and what will change?
I think a lot of people who are shitting on NFT right now, they're just going to be kind of like they're not even going to recognize their own words, even if you record a video of them and you're like, "This is what you said 5 years ago." So they'll be like, "Nope, that's not me. I don't know who that person is. It's a deep fake. It's not me." So I think a lot of people will be eating their words. I think every ticket that we will own is going to be an NFT. I mean, I already went to a few events where my ticket was an NFT. I think NFTs may not be a word that we use, just like how we don't use the term World Wide Web anymore, even though it still exists. So I think it's going to go away. I also think, in terms of NFTs and how, like, the utility around it, I think it's going to get more connected to real world assets or real world products. But also people will of course get more comfortable with digital assets, and just like at the moment, like we get a lot of questions, and I mean I had those questions as well when like I first entered the space. So they're not like those questions are wrong or unreasonable, but I'm talking about like in terms of people who are just kind of saying, oh, NFTs are a scam or something. That's like you're not even trying to learn about it. So yeah.
Yeah.
I also think that for artists it's going to just create an unimaginable kind of a wealth, and also just like that starving artist stereotype is going to go away very very quickly thanks to NFTs. And I can't wait for it to become global, because right now I see a huge digital divide, and I do think the innovation that's taking place in the Web3 space whether you're talking about environmental issues, whether you're talking about human rights, whether you're talking about digital divide. I think a lot of that will be bridged thanks to this Web3 space.
I sure hope so. So I think we are going to have to wrap up in a little bit, but we have 5 rapid fire questions that we ask everyone. And I think we should get started on those. So the first one is Twitter, Telegram, or Discord, if you had to choose one.
Telegram. That's the calmest. I never get messages on Telegram.
I like that reasoning. That makes a lot of sense. And Sam, do you want to ask the next one?
Well, where's the most NFT alpha? Is it Twitter,
Oh,
Telegram, or
yeah.
Discord?
Oh, Twitter. Yeah,
Twitter?
Twitter. Yeah. At least that's like in my opinion. I could be wrong. Yeah.
So if you had a family member who's coming to ask you about buying crypto, and they wanted to give you some money to invest, what would you buy for them?
Is it like an NFT project or are they just giving me money and then I can buy whatever they
Yeah,
post
it's
it?
like a family member who trusts you to make a wise investment decision,
I think
and
I
they're
would. Yeah, I think I would put it in ETH, and then
okay.
once they have the ETH, they can buy an NFT. They can invest in a metaverse land or whatever they want. But I would put it in ETH. Yeah.
Nice. Um, what about hobbies? Like outside of your, well, we all know you're doing art and you're running Women Rise, but outside of that, is there anything else that you're doing, like just like for fun?
For fun. Yeah.
Yeah, we all know this crypto stuff is super, super fun and exciting and stuff, but like,
I don't know what that word means, Sam. I'm kidding. Yeah. So because of the pandemic, I think it's a very natural thing that happened. But I love traveling, and because of the pandemic, I am unable to travel as much. But living in London and having Europe, like the entire Europe, like here, just I think it's like we literally get tickets for as cheap as like $15 sometimes, and people don't believe me until I show them a screenshot on like Skyscanner or something. But
mhm,
traveling is something that I absolutely love.
amazing.
Awesome.
Um,
So let's see, what is the worst piece of advice that you think someone can get when they get started with crypto?
Um, Go all in. Don't. No, just invest whatever you can and you are okay with losing because there's obviously a chance with any sort of investment that this can happen.
Mm, that's solid. Also, probably the best advice goes along with the worst advice. And then lastly, where can people find more info about you and Women Rise?
Yeah, you guys can, like find us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, or on our Discord. Our team hangs out a lot in our Discord, just connecting the community because we know like directly that okay, this is the Women Rights community. But yeah, so Women Rights NFT, that's our socials, like all of our socials, and then womenrise.art is our website.
awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on. You too, Mandy, for coming and hosting. It's been great to have you here, Maliha, and hear your story about how you created Women Rise and about the impact that you're having and about the community that you built. It's very cool.
Thank you so much, Sam. No, it was wonderful talking to you and Mandy. Such a wonderful conversation. I absolutely love representing women rights community and the project. I'm really grateful for this opportunity. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Great to have you, Maliha. Excited to keep seeing you kill it with Women Rise, and congrats on all of this success.